Hello everyone and welcome to the first ever edition of OVWmania here on Triple Threat Talk. Now you might have heard the guys before mention OVWmania and the Brian Cannon. That is me. I am the Brian Cannon. That's where you can find me on Twitter. And of course my website is ovwmania.blogspot.com. There I have weekly reports of the TV tapings as well as the Saturday night specials. I do a weekly top 20 of I rank the superstars of OVW. I also have some other special reports, any breaking news there might be regarding OVW, previews of different shows. Even recently, back on May 1st, I celebrated the 1 year anniversary of making OVWmania, and I had a lot of special Q&As with some of the superstars, which included Sam Shaw, Moose, Randy Royal, The Blossoms, fan advocate Terry Bodie, referees Chris Sharp and Josh Ashcraft, and many more. You can go back and onto OVWmania and check those out if you so wish. So this is going to be the first OVW report from me. And before I get into the most recent episode, I think it would only make sense to go back a week to make sure everyone's caught up on what happened. So I'm going to be talking about episode 717 first. This was the first TV episode after the May 11th Saturday night special. And Michael Hayes was wanting to have a little fun with the Coalition, kind of give them a taste of their own medicine. And he set them up in a series of matches. Gilly was set up against Rob Terry and got totally destroyed. Delta Team Bravo, Raul LaMotta and Shiloh Jones were put in a four-corner tag match and were totally destroyed because it basically became a 6-on-2 handicap match in which the teams of Rudy, Switchblade, and Eddie Diamond, the Mobile Homers, and the Rockstar Spud, and Ryan Howe, all ganged up on him and totally beat him down. And then the final match that he set up was between Sam Shaw and Crimson, which Delta Team Bravo tried to come back out and interfere, and they were cut off by all 6 of those men from the previous match so that Sam Shaw could face Crimson fair and square one-on-one. And, of course, he picked up a victory over Crimson. But the Coalition still got the last laugh because Jason Wayne and Joe Coleman were at a meeting with the board of directors and talked them into firing Michael Hayes as the director of operations. Also on that episode, Jay Bradley was causing chaos. He decided he was going to name himself number 1 contender, and he decided to make a statement throughout the night as he kept calling out Jamin. First thing he did was Boomstick Paradise. Later in the night, he took out ring announcer and fan advocate Terry Bodie. And then he was trying to make a statement with Dean Hill later in the night, but luckily Jamin cut him off in the ring before he could hit or do anything to Dean Hill. So that was kind of the big things that happened on that episode, which leads us into the most recent episode, which was 718. It was filmed Wednesday, May 22nd, released online for viewing on OVW's website, ovwrestling.com, and of course Blip.tv on Thursday the 23rd, and then also on the new TV home of OVW, WBNA Ion 21, Saturday the 25th. Now, the first thing that happened in this episode, the Coalition came out first. They decided they were going to kind of make a mockery out of the State of the Union address. They were calling it the State of the OVW Union address to address Operation OVW Freedom. And they were doing a debriefing of what had happened last week. And we're taking questions from the press, their press was Joe Coleman, Gilly, and Delta Team Bravo at ringside. They got cut off, though, by Danny Davis, who made a beeline to the ring. Of course, the OVW owner himself. He told them to shut up. Crimson tried offering him a cigar, which Danny Davis told him he could stick where the sun didn't shine. And then he let them know that although they might have gotten Michael Hayes fired, he just got off the phone with the the board of directors, and he said there would be no more director of operations, and since he's the owner of the company, he's back in charge himself. There will be no more director of operations, so he's back in charge. And he told him the first order of business was he was reinstating Michael Hayes as an active OVW wrestler. And then he let Crimson and Jason Wayne know that they would be facing Michael Hayes and a partner to be named later in the night at the next Saturday night special on June 1st. He then told the coalition to hit the bricks and then called out the bully, Jay Bradley, which also carried over from last week. He told Jay that he better never put his hands on another official or announcer again, especially Dean Hill, who he'd been in the business with for over 20 years. And he said since Jay's a big TNA superstar, he was fining him $5,000 to that he had 30 days to make the check for, since he tried putting his hands on Dean Hill, and then of course had already put his hands on Terry Bodie earlier in the night, which Jay wasn't happy about. But then he started asking about his title shot, which Jamin made a beeline to the ring at this point, and he had a unsigned contract in his hand and said, "Here, sign the contract." He goes, I want you in the ring. Which Danny Davis took the contract away, and he said that Jay Bradley was a jerk and didn't deserve the title shot. And he said that he understood Jamin and Jay had history, and he said they could settle it later in the night. They would be the main event match. So we move on from there, and the next thing that happened was the big return of Marcus Anthony. If you remember, he was in the family early last year. And then he left because he had a WWE developmental deal. He was released from that, though, and has found his way back to OVW. His first match back was against Ted McNaylor of the Mobile Homers. Pretty much destroyed Ted. Ted had to be stretchered out after the match. So it looks like Marcus is back with a vengeance. We then see a backstage skit where Randy Royal is telling Tony Gunn that he's used his winnings from successfully defending the television title. He bought himself a nice new 60-inch plasma TV, and Tony said to make sure that he's paying the bills. He said he's only helping him to make sure he pays those bills, those hospital bills that he's behind on, and to help get him out of debt. And Randy said, "You're not my dad," and said that he'll take care of it and all that. But we'll have to keep watching, keeping an eye on whether Randy will put the money where it needs to go or not. He then came out and defeated Dylan Bostic, but he did it in a way where it had many people questioning, is he just trying to successfully defend the title by any means necessary? He ended up throwing Dylan Bostic over the top rope, which is usually a disqualification automatically. But what happened was Josh Ashcraft went down because he almost got hit in the corner. And while his back was turned and Tony Gunn was checking on Ashcraft, Royal threw him over the ropes, threw Bostic over the ropes where nobody saw it. And then Josh got back up and counted Dylan out, not knowing what had happened. And Tony didn't know what was going on the outside either. He didn't see Royal throw him over the top rope. So that way he could not only win the match, but because he could have kept the title by disqualification, but he wouldn't have got the extra $1,000, which he is supposed to be needing for those hospital bills. Then there was another backstage skit. They showed Michael Hayes walking in the building. He said hi to Ryan Howe, Rockstar Spud. Then met up with Jamin, and as they were talking, they noticed Delta Team Bravo spying on them around the corner. And I'm assuming they were trying to get information about who Hayes' partner would be against their generals, Crimson and Jason Wayne. So Jamin and Michael Hayes chased them off. But Jamin had left that unsigned contract sitting on a chair behind them, which a mysterious hand picked up. We didn't see who it was. That led into the main event match between Jay Bradley and Jamin Olivencia. It was a good back and forth match. Jamin, at the end of the match, went to charge Jay Bradley, and Jesse Goddard came out and moved Jay out of the way. And after Jamin ran into the corner, he turned around and got boomsticked by Jay, and Jay won the match, even though he was still kind of dreary from their fight. And then Jesse walked in the ring with the contract, which he had apparently signed. He threw it down on Jamin's chest, and he said that Danny Davis said anyone could challenge for the title, which he had said earlier in the night. He said he'd rather anyone have a shot than Jay Bradley. And he said not just anyone, though, but MRPEC with the dash TACULAR. So he said that he'd be coming for Jamin at the Saturday Night Special on June 1st and taking his OVW heavyweight title. So a interesting change in what looked like it would be a match possibly between Jamin and Jay for the title at SNS is now Jamin versus Jesse Goddard. But I would think that Jay Bradley's going to have something to say about that. Then the very last part of the night, Wayne and Crimson came out. They wanted to know, all right, Michael Hayes, we've been trying to find out all night, but now we just need to go to the source. Who's your partner going to be? So Michael Hayes came out, and he just kept staring at him, and finally he raised his hands kind of like Undertaker or Kane fashion and dropped them, causing the lights to go out. When they came back on, his partner was standing in the ring, and it was none other than his old rival, Muhammad Ali Baez. So Ali helped Michael Hayes clear him out of the ring, and they will be partners at SNS to try to wipe out the coalition. So we'll see how that works. One other thing to mention, it was a dark match, but also we saw the OVW debut of Lady Tapa. She was the latest female contestant to win Gut Check. She beat Hannah Blossom in a dark match. Hannah got a little offense in, but Lady Tapa looked pretty good, and I would say it's not going to be too long before she ends up in the OVW Women's title picture. But for the full report, plus other dark matches, you can go to ovwmania.blogspot.com. And I'm sorry for the first edition here being so long-winded, but from now on I won't have to backtrack or introduce myself again. So hopefully in the future it'll be a little bit shorter and get to the main points quicker. But it was a big night last night at OVW. And before I go, I just want to say one more thing. I want to give a shout out to not only a friend of mine, but a friend of the Triple Threat Talk guys, Mike Rickard. We had a great time at this OVW event. It was his last night in town, which we hope to see him again here soon. But he left Ohio to go to a better place to work. He just wasn't having a good time here at his place of employment. So we miss you already, but we hope you're doing good, and we hope to see you again soon, Mike. And now back to you guys in the studio, Dr. Big B and Postmaster Jones, and I will see you all next week.